How we going? So I thought that I might show you guys how to set up a Docker file for your Node.js application, right? Now, if you don't already know what Docker is, Docker's kind of just like it's like the go-to for today in terms of deployment, right? So it's a really great skill to have. So I thought I would show you guys kind of like the bare bones minimum that you guys need in order to set up your Docker file so you can get your Node.js application up and running in a container, right? And then you can just, then Bob's your uncle, off you go, right? So I'm running just a very simple Node.js Express app. The name of the directory is app. My dependencies are Express, and as you can see, I've got a server set up using Express that's listening on the port 3000. So if I just go node index.js, you can see that my app is up and running on port 3000, right? Looking good. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to want to have to do in order to get up and running with Docker is to literally install Docker on your host machine and to get the Docker CLI tools. I'm going to drop a link in the description for those so you can get those and then, install them and then, get up and running and this and that. But the first thing that we're going to want to do is we're going to probably want to set up our Docker file. So we're going to create a new file inside of our app and we're going to call it Docker file. Boom, right? Now, if you think about it, right, when you first get your laptop, right, the first thing that you're going to want to do in order to build your Node.js app and all this and that is you're going to want to install all the software and all the things that you need on your host machine so that you can build a Node.js application, right? So in order to do this, what we're going to do is we're going to, in our container, right, which literally has nothing in it, we're going to install the software. If you think of a container is just like a little virtual machine running in isolation all by itself, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to use the from keyword, right? And we're going to look for what's called a base image. And a base image is going to have all the things that we need in order to get up and running, right? So you're going to want to have to jump over to the Node official Docker base image, right? And then what we're going to use, the image that we're going to use is the Alpine image for Node.js. And the reason why that we're going with Alpine is because I'm going to show you the bare basic minimum that you need in order to get up and running, right? And Alpine comes with all the bare essentials that you need in order to get up and running with your Node.js application, right? So therefore, because it's just the bare essential minimum, right? I don't know where I'm going. My English is all over the place right now, right? But it's going to have all the things that you need, right? Just the bare essentials, right? So if your app is more complex, right, and Alpine isn't quite working for you, then maybe look at something like Debian, okay? But Alpine, bare essentials, it's what we need. It's going to make our image a lot smaller. So let's have a look at Alpine, right? So I'm not going to use an odd version number because odd version numbers come with, quote me if I'm wrong, but come with experimental features. So we want an even version number, right? So I'm literally just going to have a look over here at a version number that we can use, right? So I'm chasing Alpine. So let's have a look at Alpine, right? And I'm going to go 14.15.0. You can use whatever version number that you want. I mean, I'm not fussed about what version number you use, right? So what we're going to want to do, if you scroll down, it's going to show you how to set it up to node, your version, -Alpine, right? So let's have a look. Node the version number we're going is 14.15.0, and this is going to be Alpine, right? Boom, Alpine, there we go. If you're chasing that autocomplete and you're using Visual Studio Code, then you can actually jump over to your packages and have a look at what? I swear. Oh yeah, here we go. Docker. There you go. And this will come with, you know, a few little things. You get this little pop up on the side, and you know, it just comes with some nice little autocomplete things, right? So now that we have all of our software, and just in case you didn't know, Alpine under the hood is running Linux, right? So now that we have that set up, right, because our container is now running in isolation, we need to connect that container to the outside world so that we can make requests to it, right? And the way that we can do that is we can tell that container to expose a port, right? So that way all the requests from our host machine to our container can all be mapped to the port X of our container, right? So just for this example, I'm going to be exposing port 3000, right? Now, our container is now connected to the outside world. What we're now going to want to do, just like when we first build our Node.js application, is we're going to set up a directory in order to build our application in. And the way we can do that is by using the workdo keyword, right? And I am just going to call this app, right? So now that I have my folder set up, what you're probably going to want to do is I'm going to show you the wrong way to do this, and then I'm going to show you the right way, right? So what you would probably do is you'd probably copy in all your files from your current directory into the current working directory of your application. And then what you're probably going to end up doing, right, is you're probably going to run the command npm install, right? Well, in order to do this, you're going to want to use the run keyword for running commands, right? And you're going to run npm install, and you're probably going to want to clear your cache. So you're going to go npm, is it cache? What's the keyword again? Oh my gosh, give me a sec while I think. Cache clean, and we are going to force that. So no matter what, we are going to force it to clean the cache, right? So now we've copied in all of our files, we've ran npm install, we've installed all of our node modules, and then what we're going to do is we are going to run a command, right? And the command that we are going to run is node index.js, which is then going to run node on our index.js file and spin up our server just exactly like how we did it at the start of this tutorial, right? Now, here's a little caveat for you. We've just copied in our node modules, and sometimes our node modules, our packages in our node modules, are converted down into binary that is dependent on the software of our host machine. So we are copying in packages that when converted down into binary are reliant on our Mac OS operating system into a container that is running Linux. So straight away, we are going to have an issue. Some of these packages are not going to work in our container, right? So what we're going to want to have to do is we're going to have to set up a new file, right? And we're going to call this docker ignore, right? And in this docker ignore, we are going to ignore our node modules, right? Now, here's another thing for you. We are copying in, right? So here's another thing. So every time that we make a change, right, and we go and build our container, right, we are installing our node modules over and over and over and over again, right? So the best way to get around this is what you're first going to want to have to do is you're probably not going to want to have to copy everything in, but you're probably just going to want to copy in your package JSON and your package log, and then run npm install on that, and then copy in the remaining things. So this is like a good little Node.js, good practice for your Docker file, right? So what we're going to want to have to do is we're going to have to want to copy in our package.json, right? We're going to also want to have to copy in our package lock.json into our current working directory, which is app, right? Now, one little issue with this is if we haven't even ran npm install on our host yet, and we try to copy in our package lock.json, it's not going to be there, and our container, when building our image, is going to crash. So a nice little trick that we can do to get around this is literally add in that little star, right? Or we can take it a little step further, right? And we can actually get rid of this line. Boom. And we can add the star right here. Boom. There we go. Looking nice and neat. So now that we've copied in our package.json, right? And if it's there, our package lock, and we run npm install, and then we clear the cache. You don't have to clear your cache, but it's a good thing to do to reduce the size of your image, right? And then once we've done that, we can then copy in the remaining things that we need from our host into our container, right? So the first dot is copying everything in from the current directory on your host that you're currently in into the current working directory of your application, right? So now what I'm going to do is I am just going to do a docker system prune -all, which is going to get rid of all my images if I have any, which were there, right? And now I'm going to go docker build, right? So I'm building my image, and the image that I'm building is for my current working directory. Boom. So this is going to run through all the steps of your Docker file. So we're installing all the software that we need. We're exposing the port of a container to the host machine. We're setting up the working directory. We're copying in the package.json from our host machine into our container. We're running npm install, right, which is then going to give us all of our node modules and all of our dependencies that we need. And then we're going to copy in the remaining of the files, right, that we need, right? And it's not going to be copying in our node modules because we ignored that. And then we're going to be running the command node on our index.js file, which is then going to spin up our server in our container for us, right? So this is the image that we have right here. If you wanted to have a look at your image, you could literally just go docker images, and it's going to give you a list of all your images, right? But we want this, removing immediate containers has been built. So this is our image right here, and as you can see, the image ID is also right here, the exact same one, right? So now let's go docker run, which is literally going to grab this image and create our container, right? Wow, look at that, app running on port 3000. So we have literally just set up our app inside of a container, and then we've set it up, and it's all run using Docker now just by literally running these couple of steps. And that is literally all you guys need in order to get up and running with Docker, right, for your Node.js application. Now you can stop this right here and you can be happy with that, right? Or I can show you one more little thing that is going to help you out with your container, right? And that's using Teeny, right? So if I run Control-C here, right? I'm setting our container doesn't know what that is. Our Node.js app doesn't know what that means, right? If I open up a new terminal, right, and if I go, why does it do that? So if I go docker ps, this is going to list all of my currently running containers, right? Got my container ID right here, right? And if I go Docker stop, and I go to stop this, oh, excuse me, and I go to stop this container, boom, you can see it hanging. So I've sent a signal into my container to stop it. Now we look at, boom, there we go. And that's like after 10 seconds, it's stopped the container. And the reason why it's done that is because we've sent a signal to our container that Node doesn't know anything about, right? But Docker's like, yo, we want to shut this thing down. And Node's like, how do I shut it down, right? But then after 10 seconds, by default, container's just gonna, Docker's just gonna kill everything, right? Now, what we can do is we can set our container up to use something called Teeny, which is then going to be kind of like the main process that we use to run everything else. What do they call it? They call it a PID1 or something like that. But what we can actually do is we can actually jump over to Teeny. Or how would I do this? Teeny Docker maybe. Uh, 5k stars using Teeny. Alpine. Oh, here we go. On Alpine Linux, you can use the following command to install Teeny. Yeah, so this is what we run. This is what we want because our image, as you recall, is using Alpine. Now, I have some quick notes on this, so maybe I can read them out to you. I'm pretty sure I had some notes on this. Yeah, so remember how I was talking about the PID? So what happens is by using Teeny, right? So what happens is basically Teeny acts as the ancestor for all of our processes. So all of our child processes run off of Teeny, right? And then what Teeny's going to allow us to do is it's going to allow our NodeJS app to pick up on that signal when we go to stop the container, and then that way it will shut down a lot faster for us, right? So if I just have a look over here, right, this is going to be the first command that we want, right? And if I remember, it's also a good practice to actually run this command before we copy in our package.json, right? And then this entry point, we want to put it after we've copied everything in, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a docker system prune -a, which is going to get rid of all my images. So if I go docker images, you can see they're all gone, right? And I'm going to go docker build, spelled that wrong, docker build my current directory. So now I'm currently building my image, right? I'm going to be running this command to grab Teeny, and then entry point is like when you run docker commands and you're running like -- in it, right? So we're literally just like creating this entry point for Teeny to be like the PID1 process, to be our, our ancestor process that all of our child processes run off of, right? And this is going to allow Node to pick up on that process of stopping the container. So all right, there we go. Now that we have that built, let's go docker run. Boom, and it's running. Now, if I go Control-C, boom, see how it stops straight away? All right, let's try this again. So we're up and running. Let's do a docker ps over here. Right, so I picked up on the signal to stop the container. Node.js was like, Tini was like, oh, okay, I know this command. And then Node.js was like, oh, okay, so you want me to stop this thing. Okay, let's stop it. Right, whereas before it was like, I don't know what you're talking about, so I'm just going to keep running. And then Docker was like, you know what, it's been long enough, let's just kill everything. Right, so this is my image. I'm pretty sure that was my image, yeah. Oh yeah, and as you can see, the command that we're running everything off is off of Tini. So if I go docker stop my image ID, oh, no such. Oh, sorry. Docker ps container ID. Man, why does my terminal do that? Docker stop, the container ID, boom, and as you can see, it stopped over here. And there you go, guys. That is literally the bare essential, the bare minimum that you guys need in order to get your container, your Node.js up and running inside of a Docker container. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. If you're looking for a tutorial on how to set this up with NodeMon, or even how to set this up with TypeScript and NodeMon, please drop a comment and I would be more than happy to show you guys how to set up your Docker Compose file, how to set things up with TypeScript, how to follow, some good practices as well. So let me know. Other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed. Take care, and I will see you next time.